There are crimes that shock us. And then there are crimes so twisted, so surreal, that they sound like the script of a horror film. This is the story of a failed writer turned cult figure. A man consumed by rage, misogyny, and delusion. A man who wrote his own killing spree into a novel, and then stepped out of fiction to make it real. But it is also the story of a woman, an officer on the brink of despair, who, at her lowest moment, found the strength to save countless lives. This is the case of Ashley Ferris, and the serial killer she stopped in his tracks. The rise of a dark movement. Before the bullets, before the chaos, there was ideology. On the internet, a dangerous undercurrent was taking root. It called itself the alpha male movement, a philosophy wrapped in the language of strength, but rotting at its core with hatred. Influencers preached dominance. They spoke of women not as partners, but as enemies. Enemies to be conquered, humiliated, or destroyed. What started as the red pill, a warped interpretation of a scene from The Matrix, twisted further into something darker: the black pill. Unlike the red pill's claim that society is rigged against men, the black pill offered no hope. It preached despair, violence, and fatalism. Its believers said women were terrorists, that love was a lie, and that rage was the only way forward. These weren't just words online. They were seeds of destruction, germinating in vulnerable, lonely minds. The black pill cult. History had already seen what this ideology could produce. In 2014, Elliot Rodger killed 6 people near the University of California, Santa Barbara. He left behind a manifesto blaming women for his misery. In 2018, another man drove a van through Toronto, killing 10. In the dark forums of the internet, he was celebrated as a hero. The black pill community was no longer whispering in the shadows. It was stepping boldly into the light, recruiting. And among them rose a figure who would push things further than anyone else. The novelist of death. His name was Lyndon McLeod, but online he styled himself Roman, a failed entrepreneur, a bitter ex-boyfriend, a man whose every grievance festered into obsession. He poured his rage into a book, Sanction, over 1 million words long, nearly twice the length of the Bible. In its pages, he invented a macho self-insert character, a killer who slaughtered people Lyndon knew in real life, using their real names. He wasn't hiding his intentions. It was all there, spelled out. Every fantasy, every grudge, every planned execution. It was a fantasy of revenge, a manifesto of violence disguised as fiction. And in the darkest corners of the internet, it was praised as gospel. But this wasn't just imagination, it was prophecy. Alicia Cardenas, a light in the darkness. One of the names in Sanction was Alicia Cardenas. Alicia wasn't just a tattoo artist, she was a pioneer. A woman of color who carved out space in an industry once ruled by biker gangs and hostility. Her shop, Saul Tribe, became more than a business. It was a sanctuary, a place of inclusion, mentorship, and community. Alicia lifted others up. She believed in second chances, even for people like Lyndon McLeod, who once drifted into her life in the late 1990s. For a time, they were close. But Alicia's strength made him insecure. Her vision of unity clashed with his descent into bitterness. Eventually, she cut ties, but in his mind, the rejection festered. In his book, she was marked for death. December 27th, 2021. It was 3 days after Christmas. Inside Soul Tribe, Alicia worked alongside her longtime friend Jimmy Maldonado and his wife Alyssa. The couple shared happy news. They were trying for a baby. Then, the door opened. In stepped a figure from the past. Lyndon McLeod, dressed in black leather, body armor strapped tight, and a weapon in his hands. Without a word, he opened fire. Bullets tore through the shop. Alicia fell. Alyssa fell. Jimmy was hit, but somehow survived. The sanctuary Alicia had built was transformed into a killing ground, and it was only the beginning. A city under siege. From Saul tribe, Lyndon moved quickly. He stormed into the home of a former business partner. By sheer luck, the man's family escaped. Minutes later, Lyndon gunned down another acquaintance, Michael Swinyard, in his home. At 5:58 p.m., he killed tattoo artist Danny Schofield inside Lucky 13 Tattoo. Two clients watched in horror as their artist was cut down before their eyes. Then, as if mocking the world around him, Lyndon poured himself a drink at a restaurant before walking out to kill again. His spree culminated at a Hyatt hotel, where he murdered 28-year-old desk clerk Sarah Steck. Unlike the others, Sarah wasn't in his book. She wasn't part of his past. She was simply in his path. By nightfall, Denver was gripped by terror. The killer had written the script, and now he was acting it out, line by line. Enter Ashley Ferris. 7 miles away, Lakewood police agent Ashley Ferris began her shift. She wasn't in a good place. The holidays had been lonely. Her marriage was unraveling. Her mental health was at its lowest point. She admitted later that she had planned to end her life that very night. But fate had other plans. When the call came through, multiple shootings, suspect on the move, Ashley responded. Her cruiser sped through the streets, sirens wailing. And then she saw him. A man in black, walking calmly, gun in hand. Lyndon McLeod, the confrontation. Ashley approached. Her instincts screamed. This was him. She shouted a warning. He turned and in an instant he fired. The bullet struck her. Pain exploded through her body. Her vision blurred. Her head hit the pavement. Bleeding out, barely conscious, Ashley had a choice. Surrender to the darkness or fight. She fought. Through the ringing in her ears, she steadied her aim. With the last of her strength, she fired. One shot. It pierced the only gap in Lyndon's armor, his upper left chest. The bullet went straight through his heart. Lyndon McLeod was dead. Aftermath. The nightmare was over, but the scars remained. Ashley was rushed to the hospital. Her leg shattered, her body broken, her spirit pushed to its limits. Doctors weren't sure she'd walk again, but she survived. Jimmy Maldonado awoke to the reality of life without his wife Alyssa, without Alicia, without the family that had defined his world. And yet, through grief and pain, survivors found purpose. Ashley spoke openly about her mental health battle, determined to use her survival as a message of hope. She founded A Fighting Chance, a nonprofit dedicated to helping first responders recognize depression and find resilience. Jimmy honored the legacies of Alicia and Alyssa, keeping their names alive through art, community, and remembrance. Legacy. The case of Ashley Ferris is not just the story of a killing spree. It is the story of two forces colliding. On one side, rage, misogyny, and despair. A man who turned his failures into a death sentence for others. On the other, resilience, courage, and the will to fight even at the edge of death. A woman who thought her story was ending, but instead became the one to end his. Lyndon McLeod wanted his book to define him. Instead, history will remember Alicia Cardenas, Alyssa Maldonado, and Sarah Steck, lives stolen but never forgotten. And Ashley Ferris, the officer who turned tragedy into triumph. This was real crime, the case of Ashley Ferris. If you believe stories like these must be told, remember to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you never miss the next case we uncover. And most importantly, stay safe, because evil doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it walks right past you.